Hello everyone. So let's get into transportation and actually if transportation actually needed. Okay, so this might be a lengthy video because I want to get into all the details here. If you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and share it around with anyone who you think would find it useful. Don't forget to subscribe to my email newsletter and to the YouTube channel as well. And also, lastly, to get my books so you can support my work. So, as I mentioned in a few other videos, um, that once we become fully self-sustainable, meaning that we are using as little money as possible, and more people do this by becoming minimalists, vegans, and just not buying things that we absolutely don't need, then there's going to be less and less vehicles on the road. So we can, yes, we can indeed create more eco-friendly or sustainable vehicles, transportation that will take literally minutes or hours to get to our destination anywhere in the world. But to realize that what we need to actually do is we need to stop relying on these things. Now, unfortunately, because we are transitioning from unsustainable, unnatural world or society to an alternative society, which is basically a world vegan community, we don't really need to use vehicles much, or if at all, any. So let's just picture this, for example. So in the beginning, we may need some vehicles in order to transport our groceries to and from our home. But once we start to become fully self-sustainable with our growing, then we really don't need anything much. All we would need probably is to pay for, internet maybe, and maybe once in a while, using Uber or Didi service to and from wherever we're going. And so the whole idea is once we become minimalists, once we become fully self-sustainable with our food, water, and electricity, then we're going to need less and less vehicles on the road, or we're going to be less and less reliant on vehicles. So when people stop purchasing things that they don't absolutely need and just share and trade or buy from, thrift shops, then they don't really need vehicles. Then there'll be very little vehicles on the roads, and in fact, there'll be more alternative transportation. So high-speed trains that go virtually anywhere around the world. It's possible to do so, to get the trains going under the oceans or on bridges. And so it is very, very possible to construct alternative methods of transportation in the future that take minutes or hours to get to the destination. So you can go basically all around the world to wherever you want for very, very cheap, because, of course, in that sense, people are not going to need money as much. There's going to be very little people working in these jobs and very little people taking these forms of transportation. And in the far future, I don't know how long, probably 50 years, 100 years, 200, 300, eventually once people start living in their own communities, start repairing and fixing what can be fixed, and share and trade, and people use less and less things, material things like computers and stuff. Because now we each have a computer, but once more and more people become vegan and less people, we stop using internet and computers uh, often, then what tends to happen is that once we start to see more and more people going vegan, once we start to see more and more people becoming minimalists and stop buying things, then there's going to be less needed, less cars needed on the road, There's going to be less internet needed. There's going to be less, um, material things needed. There's going to be less people needed working in these jobs to manufacture, to make these products, and so forth. And once we start to realize that we need to connect with people more, connect with non-human animals, and connect to the earth by growing as much food as we possibly can, not just for ourselves, but for our community, as well as the free roaming animals in, living around us and amongst us, then we start to realize that, okay, we don't need individually, we don't need our own computers. Individually, we don't need our own headphones. We don't need our own this. We don't need our own that. Because people share and trade with one another. And I mean, how many shovels do we need in a community? Not many. I mean, we share, we borrow from one another. Maybe the shovel may break one day. We fix it as much as possible. And if we can't, then of course we get a shovel from somewhere else, used one, um, and so forth. So the whole idea is to transition away from society to another way of living, and to do so within the next few years, and to do so to understand basically that once we transition to this fully sustainable life, then more and more people do it, then the whole world will transform to something that we just can't even fathom. It will be completely new system, completely new world where governments and police force no longer exist, where we all live from our heart values of love for one another. We don't kill, we don't enslave others, we don't use others against their will, and we actually start to respect ourselves, our bodies, each other, the non-human animals, and the earth more, and we start to live in harmony with each other. And if by any chance we need to see our families overseas or wherever they might be living, then we would use these high-speed trains that would cost very, very minimal, because not many people would be using them, first of all, and secondly, very little people are needed to operate these devices, these high-speed trains. And that's really about it for this video, everybody. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Uh, Post your comments down below. All the links will be posted in the description. And don't forget to share it with all your friends and family. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to my email newsletter. And really, I think that's about it. Just get my books, support my work, and I love you very much. Take care, everybody.